Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to November 30th, 2018 at 003 Eastern Standard Time. Joined you tonight by our special guest speaker here. We all know him as Tankia. Some special fans out there will call him Tankaya. And we are going to have a good time discussing game development, player expectations, and Fallout 76. So, for those who have been keeping up with some of the game streamers out there who were talking about Fallout 76 and what Bethesda had promised and what they actually released, there have been a lot of mixed reviews on this. And so I wanted to get someone who's actually played it to say something about it. And I know Tanky is a big Fallout fan. I'm a Fallout fan as well, but you know, he's actually active in it. I don't have the time to be active in it. It'll be a huge distraction for me. But Tanky, pretty much in short, can you give us a brief history of what you've experienced in the Fallout 76 developer cycle? Really bringing it up to when it actually went live. But before I even ask that, let's just start over this. Did you actually buy the pre-release?
Yes. I really wanted that helmet.
Okay. How was that experience?
That wasn't actually too bad. I mean, the price tag on it was a little expensive.
How much was that?
It was like 200.
Holy cow.
Well, but also, mind you, the game's like 60, so... Well, it was 60. Now it's not.
Holy cow. What's the current price on it now?
I've seen it on the internet, people saying, like, when Cyber Monday was happening, it's somewhere between 35 and... Like, the price of that game dove pretty hard.
Why do you think that happened?
So, I think a lot of it stems back from the expectation of the player base versus the expectation of normal average players.
Elaborate on that.
So, obviously, since this is a Fallout game, the targeted audience is basically the Fallout community. I mean, that's pretty obvious. The fact that, you know, it has, call it, you know, a $60 price tag to 35, 40, whatever it is now. You know, that definitely, it's not like one of the free-to-play games, kind of like Star Trek where, you know, you can just download it because you like Star Trek and, you know, shoot lasers. So because of that, you know, obviously you're going to have people that played Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, probably some of the older games, and, you know, are the really diehard fans. I think one of the biggest disconnects from what I've seen friends and other people complain about with the game, and I think this was the biggest problem, was there isn't really a story. There isn't really, like, the super elaborate, you know, tale like Fallout 4 had a really elaborate storyline. You know, there's, I guess, some plot twists if you really, you know, think about it, but realistically it's not that big of a shocker what happens in the game. But, you know, when Bethesda was on stage and explaining what Fallout 76 was, you know, all the other Fallout games have happened a substantial time after the nuclear apocalypse that is Fallout. This game is set about, I believe it's 20 years after the bombs have dropped. So there's not like a lot of people alive or around. And I think that's kind of one of the things is going into like Fallout 4, for instance, you know, I think it's like 100, 200 years had passed between the bombs dropping and actually waking up in that world. So, you know, there's a kind of a civilization. There's storylines. There's, really elaborate side quests to do. Fallout 76 doesn't really have any of those. It just kind of has this very bland, oh, hey, we left the vault, be nice, find things. And, you kind of find stories of people that did survive the bombs and tried to make a life for themselves, but basically got eaten by ravenous zombies. And then you just get special events that pop up around the map, and, you run to those, get whatever reward, and then go back to scavenging. Or scavenging for everything. So I think that's probably the biggest complaint I've seen from a couple of my friends that play it, or had played it, looked at it, and people online and some of the Facebook groups I'm in, is that it's not really this super duper intricate storyline. It's kind of a, hey, rebuild civilization, good luck, don't get eaten.
Now, if that's a basic premise, so long as it's designed well and there's stuff to entertain you throughout, that should be fun, right? But I mean, you've been playing it for how long? What have you done in there so far?
So I've been playing it off and on a couple hours a day here and there. My back's not been the best, so I haven't gotten to just sit down and dive into the game. But I think I'm like level 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. I forget what it was. But I mean, it feels a lot like Fallout 4. Just kind of how things works. The VAT system is really watered down, but it kind of makes sense it has to be watered down. Otherwise, combat in the game would be ridiculously easy. I will note that playing through Fallout 4, I absolutely loved and adore melee builds. They are my favorite builds in the game, and I feel like Fallout 76 is not very melee user-friendly. How you've played what, Fallout 3, right?
I played Fallout 3 and New Vegas. I've done a lot in both of those games.
So you remember when running AP seemed to kind of last a lot, even if you didn't have much stats or anything into it?
Yes.
Yeah, that in 76. It goes away in like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Like on a full sprint. But in that's kind of one of the problems is, like, because of that, I feel like melee is really hampered because you can't just go lunging in at someone that's shooting at you and, hit them with, a rock or whatever you pick up and stab them with. It's, I don't know, I always feel like AP management seems to be really big in 76. And I know there's mods and things you can do to increase it, make it better and whatnot, but I feel like, for me personally, the one critique I have about the game is, since you can't really sprint for like super long distances and crazy things like that, the game feels really slow. Like, getting from area to area to area feels really, really slow.
Now, is that something that you feel the developers can actually address properly, or is it something that it's a fatal flaw that just needs to be rolled out somewhere else and actually be fixed? Whether it's a patch, we'll get to patches later, I know. Well, whether it's a patch that'll actually address that type of the mechanic, the online mechanic itself, or add something like fast travel into the game.
Well, there is a fast travel system, a little bit, but I mean more for like being able to sprint across the battlefield to do something type issues. Like, there's a lot of times that, like, I'm trying to run to do something or running away from my life, and I just run out of gas.
Right.
And I mean, I think it might be option 3 in the sense of the builds for it, because the perk system in this game is completely different than Fallout 4. Like, night and day different. And I'm still learning it, but essentially what it is I forget how 3 and New Vegas did their perks and stuff, because I've never actually owned those games. I played them at a friend's house, so I kind of just stumbled through that. But like the Fallout 4 perk system had, you know, a very basically intricate, you know, web where, you know, you had the actual stats you could invest in, or, you know, you had these sub categories underneath them that you had to, you know, put so much into the actual stats to start unlocking things. And 76, you get these like cards that you equip and you can upgrade, and those are your perks.
Wow, interesting. I've seen them.
However,
Go on, go on.
what's interesting about it is those cards are shared between your party mates.
Shared.
Yes, so if I have a card, at least that's my understanding of it. I've never actually got to party with anyone because, like, you find people, but they're just really antisocial. But, like, so from my understanding, if I have, like, a melee card that gives me, like, 10% melee and I'm holding it, it's my perk, and you join my party, you now get that benefit.
So you can actually build a squad, you know, with different
Yes,
perks, and they all share the same thing. But that kind of seems a little bit imbalanced.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is 76 to me seems to be very built for playing with you and your buddies or finding people to play with. It doesn't seem to be as friendly towards a solo play. Like it's almost kind of like you have to do social interaction. And I know some people from Fallout groups that they absolutely detest social interactions, and they're like, "This is the worst thing ever. Fallout's ruined for me forever." And like, they've gone on rants, and it's almost embarrassing to read them. But you know, it is kind of that is kind of the thing. Was Fallout was a very much a solo game. I think it could have benefited from multiplayer in the sense of like me and you playing the same game, not me, you, and half the entire world being able to interact in the same game.
Gotcha.
I feel like Fallout would have been a little bit better for kind of like that type of multiplayer. But I don't know. I think a lot of it was a lot of people were expecting a whole heck of a lot out of 76. And I think a lot of people were already kind of harshly judging it to begin with. I was kind of going into it pretty open because I liked Fallout 4, and you know 76 kind of seemed to be a little bit like that. And you know, playing through 76, it feels similar. They did add some kind of interesting, neat features in the game. The Mothman's my favorite thing right now in the game.
The what?
The Mothman. So, in 76, it's set in West Virginia, so one of the things they pulled in was a lot of, like, the urban legend lore and stuff like that, and one of them's the Mothman. And, yeah, there's a Mothman.
Okay.
There's actually 3 of them. So, all 3 of them show up as an enemy to you, but, like, one of them is hostile, and he's kind of mean. The other one, he's actually just really chill. Like, he won't attack you, he'll just kind of walk around with you. I mean, you can hang out. There's people taking selfies with him and stuff. You know, he's just a good guy, really good guy. And then the third one's called the Wise Mothman, and basically if you encounter him, he blesses upon you, like, 2 times experience. Gained for, like, an hour or something silly like that.
So not completely overpowered, but still good.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough to, like, because I believe it's part of a quest that you can get. Like, there are some quest lines in this game where you can pick them up and do them like that. Like, there is, like, some type of mission where you can get that, and you can summon the Wise Mothman, and he'll give you a little bit of an EXP boost. So far, I haven't gotten to do anything, but I know a lot of the highest level players on the server tried to do like the final raid boss, and it did not go very well. It's called like the Scorched Beast or something like that, and I think it's somewhere in the range of like level 95, and a bunch of level 30s were pounded on it, and it didn't really get much accomplished.
So in other words, there's a big pain in the butt.
It's a big pain in the butt, but also the way I look at it is that means that the game was designed for a little longevity, because hey, this is kind of like the big boss in the game, it would be a shame if it already got popped, what, a month into release? Not even that. 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
No. Alright, bringing this up. Hold on a second here.
I think it came out the 14th.
I was going to ask something else real quick, but I want to make sure the stream is working fine. Hang on. Alright, so we have audio, but no video. Interesting. Hang on.
At least it's not the way around, so anyway.
There we go. Now it's back. So, one moment. Alright, we're back.
Okay.
So, where were we? Oh, yeah. Your gaming experience overall. Because some people want to know, are you a veteran gamer? What type of games you play before? What type of games you typically are like? That sort of thing. Because everybody's gaming experience is a culmination of their ability to play different games or different genres of games. What type of player they are for each genre, that sort of thing.
So, I played a lot of MMOs. I played a pretty decent amount of Skyrim. I played the utter living crap out of Morrowind. And I mean the utter living crap out of that game. Like, genocide the entire continent played.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, everything's dead on one of my load files. There's not a single character alive. Everyone. So like I played Fallout 4. I played some 3, some New Vegas here and there. But I played a lot of Fallout 4. So kind of like, I'm going in looking at what an MMO is supposed to be like. I played a lot of MMOs at launch, and I played what the Fallout and the Skyrim series really are. And it's Fallout 76 is just kind of this little weird spot between an MMO and a watered down Fallout game. Like that's all it is. It's a really watered down Fallout game. Yeah, there's servers crashes and some bugs, and I see people complaining about it on Facebook. I've not really had any of those issues in the game yet. Of course, I don't log in till like 2 or 3 in the morning when things are pretty quiet and there's not that much stress on the server.
What about the graphics, the environment? Because I saw the Bethesda launch and they were promising something completely revolutionary from all of the Fallout series. How is that? What was actually delivered to the player?
So I just got a new graphics card yesterday, and I haven't gotten to look at the game. On the 960 I had in there, I mean, it looked prettier than Fallout 4, which is really the benchmark at the moment. But I mean, it still looked like a Fallout game. things didn't look like this uber real, creation.
Now, have you played any of the Fallout mods for Fallout 4?
The mods?
Yes, some of the environment mods.
There was one texture patch that I did play, and essentially all it did is it just really cleaned up the graphics and some of the clipping issues and stuff like that, and it was pretty good.
Now, how did that mod compare to? You already said the base comparison to the Fallout 4. So the mod was actually better than what the base game was, what you get from retail, correct?
Yeah, at least in my opinion. Like, I mean, I really have to play the two games next to each other, but yeah, 76 it's a decently pretty game, like graphically speaking.
Now, how is it compared to the mod from the Fallout 4 texture pack that you played?
I think the texture pack probably is better, but they also went really ham on that texture pack because like the water is really pretty and moves and looks like actual real water and stuff like.
Now, were you given anything from, or got any impressions from Bethesda when they did their announcement on how Fallout 76 was going to play?
Basically, my impression when I was watching that whole thing, I actually think I was on Discord with you guys while it was going, but I mean, basically, when I bought the game and I got the pre-order, that I was expecting a game that was similar to Fallout 4 with multiplayer that would allow you to group up, build things, and basically have a loose sandbox to run around in and have fun.
And you think they just hit that?
I mean, I would say fairly, I think that's what they hit. I haven't seen any huge, amazing, awesome bases yet, but I also, think people are still staying pretty mobile because one of the big things is like the bases are destructible and some of these big scary monsters will come in and burn everything down to the ground.
So you're saying that the NPCs there will actually hunt down anything that looks to be player created, or is it just they randomly roam around?
Fancy.
So what?
Sorry, my friend's talking to me about the potato, and it just, it's brain dead at the moment. Anyway, yeah, I mean, basically, you can build like a base, kind of like you could in the Fallout games, or at least Fallout 4. You can make it look as cool or as crappy as you want, but yeah, the mobs in the game, they will sometimes wander into your camp and start attacking you and everything in it and stuff like that. Apparently, I've not had that happen, but I haven't actually ever set up a base. But I have seen people very sad about scorched, burning things to the ground.
Now, do other players have the ability to attack somebody's base?
I believe so, but the aggro system in this game is really bizarre.
Explain.
So, if I walk up to you and start shooting you, doesn't really do anything. Now, if you shoot me in response, now we're in PvP and we can kill each other. But the thing I found out is people like to jump in front of your gunfire so you hit them, so then they can shoot you and kill you. And that's how they grief in that game.
Interesting.
So like you go to an event and you know they've got these new well, they're new to me. I don't know if they're any of the other Fallout games, but from my Fallout 4 experience, which I remember very well because it's fresh in my mind, there are these new mobs called like the Scorched, and they kind of seem to be like some weird like pre-feral ghoul thing that are like burnt and have like radiation crystals growing out of their.
Mm.
Anyway, they're like the most common monster I've ran into so far in the game. But yeah, they also could use guns, and I don't know how I feel about them.
Ghouls that use guns.
Basically, yeah. So,
All right, so they stepped up the difficulty on that.
yeah, a little bit. They like shotguns. But what will happen is you'll have a bunch of them attacking like bases that were set up by people that are now dead. But you know they'll be attacking and crap like that, and you have to defend them. Well, what will happen is, like I stated earlier, melee is kind of lacking in the game. You know, like the AP dynamic doesn't really seem to let you run or do melee for a very long time. At least I remember being able to do a lot more in Fallout 4, but is also I don't really remember my first couple levels in Fallout 4 versus the, you know, leveling in 76, because in Fallout 4 I did the Idiot Savant build and I was already like level 15 by the time the game even started. So
yeah, that didn't seem to make a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was one of those things where they were trying to make a nice little perk, and it was just easily abused, like really easily abused.
Now, have you seen some of the other players talk about or complain about some of the other things that happen within Fallout? Wow.
I have seen some of them complain about things, but a lot of them seem to complain about different aspects, so it's kind of like the player's personal choice on something they wanted to see or something. The big ones that I see a lot would be the stability of the servers at times seems to pretty much be bad. There's random bugs that happen here and there, and people are bored out of their minds because there doesn't seem to be much of an actual storyline or purpose to doing anything. But I honestly feel like 76 was built for a bunch of buddies to be sitting in Discord and, you know, playing Fallout together, not for this really intricate storyline where we run around, you know, the wasteland and, you know, try to rebuild civilization, you know, friendship is magic type thing.
What do you mean, friendship isn't magic?
Well, sometimes, just not in this game.
What do you think about other players and the community reaction to what they got in Fallout, in this Fallout 76?
I mean, it's not Diablo Immortals, so that I don't know. I think Fallout 76 biggest issue, and I'm gonna take all the flack in the world for it, and you know it is what it is. But I feel like the biggest issue is the fan base and the player base. I think set too high of an expectation for this game, and it tragically didn't even come close to that expectation. You know, I'm also semi-pessimist, so I always set a low expectation, so I'm, you know, if it hits below that expectation, then I know it's definitely a bad time. So, my expectation was a watered down Fallout 4 that you might run into random people, there'd be some events, and you could do some things. And it's basically just running around and gathering resources for the rest of your life. Also, nuclear bombs. That's a thing. That was one of the other things. If you drop 3 nuclear bombs at the same time, the server died.
Yes, yes. Well, I've seen a lot of demos of that on a couple YouTube video reviews, and I was laughing as that was being played.
I think they fixed it now. But yeah, that's the thing. You can just kind of take down the server, which, the part of me is like, ooh, that's fun.
Now, how would one actually get a nuke in that game and then just launch it?
So, from my understanding of the game and how it works is there are nuclear launch codes hidden throughout the map. And you essentially, I think they're usually on, mobs or something like that. But basically, once you gather the codes, you can go to the launch site and, doop, 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 and launch a nuke. The main point of the nuclear bombs, also from my understanding, because I haven't actually gotten to use them or do any of that fun stuff, and I unfortunately didn't even get to play the beta for those reasons. The main reason you have the nukes is because you basically want to nuke something that has a lot of mobs and it'll make them radioactive, and then you kill those things and you can farm like radioactive materials for other in-game items, I believe. But there's also the griefing aspect of if there's somebody that has a base you don't like, you can just blow them up.
I kind of like that. So even if you're not flagged for PvP, you can still technically blow somebody up.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes. The other interesting aspect
will
of the
handle
game,
that.
and this is one thing that I do remember they said was going to be part of the game, and I think it came out in press releases later, but when you go to open up your map, you see everybody that's on the map with you. No matter how far away they are on that map, and you can see who's there and what level. I think that's kind of a cool feature because you can kind of at least have a general idea of who's around you, who's there. I don't think I've seen like more than 15, 20 people on a map at the same time. Maybe less because I'm bad at math sometimes at 3 in the morning.
What I don't understand, though, and I've heard about that, and I don't get this, though, is if you are going to be in a potential PvP scenario, why the heck would I want my anticipated target to see where the heck I'm coming from?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I think that's the thing they built was... One of the issues is I think a lot of people came into wanting to play out Fallout 76 as Griefy McGriefer and wanted to just run around and callously murder everyone, and they specifically designed systems against that.
Right, but I don't think everybody wanted to come in and play Griefy McGriefer. I mean, the way that I envision Fallout 76 to be, based off of what Bethesda did on their little launch party, was... Hey, look, here's a very immersive game that's going to have beautiful textures, beautiful environment. You're going to be able to build everything from scratch. You are going to be the survivor, and you can work with people or not work with people, but you'll be able to do something in that game. And every decision that you make will have lasting effects, not only for yourself, but for other people around you.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen too many lasting effects other than... not much. But, I mean, like, it kind of offers that. I mean, realistically, this game seems to be more built to have people playing together. It seems to be a very cooperative game. It seems to be a very... You need to basically have at least a partner. 2 or 3 is probably better. The more people you play with, the better. But, I mean, like... I feel like Bethesda was trying to guide everyone to, friendship and happiness by like, oh, hey, you could go around and kill people, but it'd be cooler? Rebuilding society like you're supposed to, you little rascal.
Wow.
Like, I kind of feel like that's what they did because, I mean, ideally, that's what the storyline is. Vault 76's purpose was to repopulate the U.S. after the nukes fell. So, like, literally, we are supposed to be out there rebuilding things, not, Lord of the Flying this. But I don't know. That's my general experience with the game so far. Like I said, I haven't gotten super far into it. I've gotten to explore a little. I kind of want to go find the Mothman because he seems like a really cool guy to know. He's got really red eyes.
Now, have you seen some of the other reviews of Fallout 76?
Yes, I've seen a lot of reviews of Fallout 76. I've seen the really fun reviews too, where it's like some of the reviews are by people that haven't even played the game. They just, watch other people play the game and start complaining about it. And I've very little took much of what they. I mean, some of the things they're right about, but a lot of the ones I did see were people that played the beta, people that have been playing it since live. And, I mean, some of the complaints are justified, but I think some of the complaints, too, just are... They were expecting a whole hell of a lot more out of this game, and I don't necessarily think that Bethesda was selling what they wanted to buy.
Well, all right, give me at least two from each camp. Two of things that they actually did good, that the players said, yeah, this is a good job, and two of the things that Bethesda actually did bad that the players are complaining about.
So, I'm going to give three because one of them is actually on both camp, which is hysterical, but
Okay.
it will make sense. And that's the PvP, anti-PvP aspect. So people that just want to play the game and be left the hell alone, like the fact that you can't just get walked up to and shot in the damn face and killed over and over. That's a plus side on them. On the minus side, that would be a complaint is the PvPers that want to literally walk up and shoot someone in the face can't, and that's a mechanic that they hate. And that also always leads to these events where, I'm shooting the enemy mobs, and the guy that wants to kill me decides to jump in front of my shotgun, and then he shoots me and then kills me, and that's happened a couple of times. It's slightly frustrating when that happens.
So you would think that there would have been some sort of, hey, player cannot interact with other players unless the player wishing to interact with other players puts up a flag. And both players have to be flagged for PvP in order to interact with each other.
You would think. I mean, they do have a min limit, so, like, you can't really pick on low-level players. Like, it's just, you can't. Like, I think under level 5, you're safe. Even if you accidentally shoot someone, you still can't be killed because you're a little baby. But after that, it's pretty much if you hit someone, well, that was a mistake. The crafting system is basically like Fallout 4. It's nothing super duper special. I know I'm a terrible, terrible hoarder of everything. I pick up everything. I will say space is extremely limited in that game. They do have basically like an ender chest though, from like Minecraft, where you can put stuff in it, and then you can go to another one and that stuff's there.
A space as in...
It's literally just like a Vault-Tec chest that opens. But it's basically storage for things that you don't want on your person. Mostly crafting items and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely an interesting like that's a dynamic. Like I understand why they have it in there, but it definitely makes it a little interesting. But I think you can only hold like 450 pounds in the box, and then whatever your character can hold. So, like me in Fallout 4, I was a terrible hoarder.
Oh yeah.
There is a box in my main town that probably has 20,000 items inside of it. And like that might be a slight exaggeration, but I also have like a terracotta army of power armors that's almost 150 strong right now. So I think I have a lot of Brotherhood of Steel armor pieces sitting in there too. So that's the thing. But yeah, so I mean the storage is kind of like MMO. It's pretty limited, so you have to make choices. The one thing that I've liked about the game so far is there is a cash shop in the game. But as far as I can tell and everything I saw, it's purely aesthetic. It is Space Barbie, nothing that actually impacts the game stat wise.
Do you think the cards may be introduced into the cash system?
I think the only way that they're going to introduce. I think the only way that they could do that without ticking off everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone, is if, and this is a big if, the game ends up becoming free to play. Because it just seems to be a lot to ask someone to pay, whatever the going value of the game is, call it 35, call it 60, call it whatever they want right now for it, and then ask you to put even more money into the game for the game.
On a related note to that, I'll ask this question. Do you feel the game is complete in its current state?
Nowhere close to complete. I mean, they've got a lot of improvements. I think they could flush out some things, but it's also one of those things where, with how this game works, is it's going to work on a linear timeline. So yeah, it's Fallout 76, and it's the year. Let's see, the bombs dropped in. What was it? Was it 2076? I think that's when the bombs dropped, or something like that. I gotta look that up. I'll get crucified for not knowing. Okay, so it looks like so the bombs dropped like 2076, and Fallout 76 begins a little bit after 2100. But for reference for you, Odin, so you can mentally think about this. So Fallout 76 starts a little after the year 2100, right? Fallout itself, the first Fallout game, begins in 2160. Fallout 2 begins in 2240. Fallout 3 begins a little bit before 2280. And New Vegas is a little bit after that, and Fallout 4 is a little bit shy of 2290. So, like, most of the Fallout games we're used to are about 100 years ahead.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more. So, going back to that, some of the complaints about, oh, there's no really intricate storylines and stuff. Well, China decided to carpet bomb us with nuclear bombs. How much storyline do you want when everyone's or a ghoul?
What I want to know, from your experiences, have you seen any major glitches in the game? Like, say, mob animation, artifacts jumping around, clipping of artifacts or in-game environments.
I mean, it's a Bethesda game, so there's always going to be some weird clipping things when you're trying to run up a. That's just something you need to understand going into a Bethesda game. That's always going to happen.
You would think for a big studio like that, dropping $60 on a game, that they would have already figured that crap out by now. I mean, Fallout 3, I'm not looking at this through rose-tinted glasses. Fallout 3 had a lot of that, hey, here's a rock, and I'm already running before empty space as if I'm hitting this rock already, even though I'm not seeing a rock showing up on my screen. It's way the heck down that way. In New Vegas, it's far worse. But it was a different team that did New Vegas, though, correct?
I think so.
What I think, in my opinion, just listening to reviews and talking with you, I think the biggest upset is that Fallout 76 was supposed to be something that looked completely different from Fallout 4. And instead, it feels like a watered-down mod of Fallout 4.
Yeah, pretty much. It feels like a watered-down multiplayer mod. I mean, it is what it is. But, like I said, going into it, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting Fallout 4.7, not this amazing, new, life-changing, altering experience where, we're going to retake the U.S. from all the zombies, Deathclaws, and stuff like that.
Yeah, you would think that, they're even going in 20 years after the bombs dropped, Deathclaws shouldn't be a thing yet. But who knows?
I think the Deathclaws were actually already being mutated before the bombs dropped. I forget the lore on those things.
Or it's supposed to be weaponized creatures?
Yeah, they were mutated iguanas or something like that. Basically, they're Godzilla from that horrible Godzilla movie.
Any other things? If you could talk to both, say, the leaders of the Players Union that argue against Fallout 76, and the developers and the people who control the purse strings for Fallout 76, what message would you have for each of them? Or would they be the same message?
They'd be a little different. For the players that don't like the game, honestly, I don't think there's anything I could say to save it for them. I mean, if they don't like the game, they don't like the game. That's life. They're entitled to their opinion. Different people love different aspects of gaming. And Fallout 4 had a lot to offer that people liked and enjoyed. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas had a lot of stuff that people liked and enjoyed. I think the big thing is why a lot of people feel kind of gypped is with Fallout 76 coming out, 20 years after the bombs dropped, you don't have, a lot of the really iconic Fallout factions that you're used to. There's no Brotherhood of Steel, no Institute, no Railroad, no, what was it, Caesar's Legion or whatever, no, New California, no nothing. There's not any of this intricate armies or settlements built up. It is very much a hostile environment that some people tried to survive in, and as a vault dweller that you're now going into trying to rebuild. And I think that's the biggest aspect that is got players upset, is it's not this established world. And to the developers, I think that's what they wanted to offer. I think they wanted to offer this kind of lawless society to where you have to kind of rebuild things. I know for me personally, I would really, 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 really like to see companions in the game. Especially if you want to be a solo player. They
Like a
don't have to
pet
be,
dog or something?
yeah, like dog meat or maybe, something like that. Like a cat. I don't care, just something. Because, in Fallout 4, me and dog meat are BFF. Like that's my boy. He is the best dog. Doesn't judge me. I can kill an entire town of people. Doesn't judge me. All the other characters in Fallout 4, they judge me. Whether it's positive or negative, they still judge me. Dog meat. So I'd like to see that aspect of the game brought back in. I'd like to see pets at some sort of time. I mean, you could really do like a breeding aspect of the game, like oh, you can find dogs because like I've been playing Warframe, and one of the aspects in Warframe is there's like these cats and dogs that you can find eggs for, and you can like breed them to make them really strong, and then they can kill things for you and find things for you and be really cool. So, something like that wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. I mean, I think the real thing that I've found so far with 76, and I don't know if it's because I played a lot of Fallout 4, so I'm still a little burnt out on that, but I don't. I think my biggest problem with Fallout 76 is outside of being able to play with a bunch of my buddies, as a solo player, I don't see what my end game is. Like, I don't see my purpose of playing very clearly.
And what about as a team? Do you see if there's some sort of end game or at least a continuous recurring event or series of events that will keep players interested in coming back in and playing with each other?
Honestly, for the multiplayer aspect, yeah, I think it's kind of more of like a Minecraft aspect of where it's just you're doing things because it's with your buddies and because it's like I said, there's some big world raid boss type things that you can do, and there's the oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and pride in actually doing it and stuff like that. And I get that and I understand that, and you build your weapons, you build your armor, you craft whatever, and that's what a lot of people play for. But to me, like with Star Trek Online, for instance, my end game of that is space Barbie. I want to look fabulous, but I also want to be able to put together any piece of crap boat that I want to and do decent with it, or just be able to have fun with it. And like I feel like with Fallout 76, it's basically you're just running around the wasteland picking stuff up and trying not to get eaten.
Any final words?
Um, I would say if you are looking at playing the game or buying the game, wait a little bit longer. Um, I think I read today or yesterday that apparently there's going to be some stuff going on with allowing refunds for the game and crap like that because people are upset with the game. At this point, honestly, I'd let the smoke settle. I don't think Bethesda's gonna pull the plug on the servers, but they definitely are taking a lot of heat. It's nowhere as bad as No Man's Sky. Um, Definitely. I mean, like I see the issue where people aren't happy with the game, but I also think some of the reason is because they didn't quite necessarily think about what they were getting themselves into. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are complaining about the game that literally bought it just because it says Fallout and really didn't do much homework on the game. So, yeah, basically, I'd just say if you're interested in the game at the moment, vicariously live through people playing on the on YouTube or live streaming it, watch it, see how it is, see if you're gonna like it. I mean, if you liked Fallout 4's controls, they're pretty much identical. The only other thing, and I'll throw this into a side note, is Yeah. There's no like saving yourself very easily. And I mean that in the sense of like when you're playing in like Fallout 3, and I forget, did Fallout 3 have durability on weapons? Because Fallout 4 didn't.
Yeah. Yes, you can
Okay.
repair weapons, etc.
So like you're fighting a bunch of things and your knife breaks, right? So what do? You hit tab and you pull up your pip boy and time's frozen, right? So you can equip a new.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's not 76. It's still real time. You're getting your butt kicked. You're
Okay.
getting eaten by mobs.
I
So
I
like
can
that's
relate to that.
yeah, but I think that's also another disconnect is solo players are used to that baby system essentially where you had that moment to freeze and re-equip yourself. That doesn't exist. I told my friend that just left, to me Fallout 76 is like Fallout 4 with hardcore mode.
See, with something like that, I would appreciate it if you're playing, in real time on a real time game. There's no pause. You expect
Yes.
real time combat.
And I agree with that, and I completely, support that. Like the VAT system, is just basically it's aimbot. It is a built-in aim. Like there isn't this time freezes and you can pick the arm, pick the leg, pick the head. No, it just lets you auto target somebody for a hot.
Funny you brought up No Man's Sky. What made you jump to that one when you're running a contrast to what's happening with Fallout 76?
So the reason I went to that is two reasons. Was a clearly that game oversold it. Clearly the developers pretty much lied, pretty blatantly, or expanded truths to literally a lying extent. And also that's the only other one where I really remember people looking into or there being an actual like investigation about people being able to return the game and get full refunds or part refunds and stuff like that. I don't remember. I can't really think of any other game where that's really been the case, but I could be wrong. But that's mostly why I made that comparison, is because that was a game I bought. I played it. I hated it. It was nothing like what it was explained to me to like. It was nothing like some of the videos I'd seen. And yeah, so far with 76 though, pretty much what the developer said when he was sitting up there is what I pretty much took away and expected from the game. I expected an experience of where you get to go into a wasteland. There's not much of anything there. I mean, there's still, houses and stuff, but pretty much everyone's dead. There's not really going to be like this quest line. Events do pop up, and most of them are either killer robots or zombies. And yeah, I mean, the there's some sad moments. Like for the most part, you learn the storyline about what happened by picking up the little recording tapes and listening. And that's pretty much how you get your lore for this game. It's just like the actual Fallout games, really.
But is that interesting to the gameplay and the environment that you're expecting there?
I mean, it depends on what you consider interesting. If you like a really lore-driven story and stuff, yeah, I mean, it gives you some story and it gives you some feelings because I don't want to terribly explain and spoil stuff, but let's just say a lot of these tapes are found on the dead bodies of the people recording the tape. And unfortunately, most of these dead bodies were actually pretty nice, decent people. That's kind of the like crapshoot about the game is it's like you kind of it's almost like we kind of came out of the vault like a couple of years too late when there were still kind of people that were still alive, but nope, now not anymore. Except Mothman, he's alive, he's cool.
All right, so we'll let you go get back to finding Mothman and everything else, and appreciate your time, Tankia. Anything you want to say to existing Fallout 76 players that are in there right now?
If you guys are still playing, enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the giant sloths and all the other little critters. Some point in time, have fun trying to take down the scorched beast. On a side note, though, I do want to say something cool, and I read this on a YouTube video. Apparently, there's people that have set up basically a starter town for Nuke on some of the maps. So it's basically like a base they've built that has a bunch of free items and caps and stuff like that, where new players can come in and basically stock up and not have to be completely on the. So I kind of think that's cool, and I kind of hope that is a continuing theme in the game as this game progresses over time.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Mm-hmm. Everybody out there, go have fun. If you're still checking out Fallout 76 to see whether it's good, bad, or ugly, take what Tankia said with a grain of salt. Take what the other reviewers have said with a grain of salt. Look at what Bethesda has said about the game pre-release and post-release, and then make your decision from there. But, hold companies to a high standard when they ask you to pay $60 for a game. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you're going to pay $60 for a game, you got to come out with something good.
Yeah, well, it's also the fact too that it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, and it's on PC, and $60 is about what games are now for those new launch titles. That's what it is. I mean, that's how much Pokemon Let's Go Eevee was.
Yeah, but is that a $60 worth game? Is that a $60?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, then.
That is a beautiful game.
All right, then. Game. Now, compared to that, is Fallout 76 a $60 game? For its own genre, for its own release, for what it was advertised as.
I am going to say, and this is a loaded answer, or a loaded response, because of what we've done in our lives with video gaming, is I'm going to say yes because the cash shop doesn't affect the game. If the cash shop affected the game, not a chance in hell. Like, this game is still kind of that, give me $60 one time and we'll keep you going. Versus how there's all these free-to-play games where, yeah, they're free-to-play, but microtransaction. And by the end of the year, you've already spent 4 to 5 times what that $60 is.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, that's kind of how I am with video games. I rather play a game that's a little lackluster, but it's $60 one time and just be done with it, versus some of these free-to-play games, because it doesn't seem like much, but if you throw $10 a month at a game over a year, that's $120, and you're already now doubled your amount than a one-time buy. Reasons I like things like Diablo.
One and done. Hopefully development continues.
One and done. Okay. Expansion set? Yeah, sure, fine. DLC, I'll buy it. That's Blizzard. They always like that. That's not a new thing that they've done. They've done that since Warcraft. Well, Warcraft 2, I think.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yep.
And folks, go out there, have fun. Be kind to each other. Seriously, because there's already enough drama in the world. You don't need to add to it. Peace.